kids. They're not interested. Next up is Mr. Daisy Picker himself, Benjamin Rexroad. Give him a round of applause.
Am I? So, my mother was 15 when I was born. And by all accounts, she was a whore. And I came from a very religious family, or at least half my family. We were, or they were, Southern Baptists, and my great-grandparents were missionaries, and they went overseas to Africa, and they knew a very nice missionary family who wanted to have a child of their own so bad, and they couldn't. And so, in exchange for me, they were going to give my mother, they were going to pay her hospital bills and give her $10,000. That did not happen, I'm happy to say, but at least I know my net worth. $10,000. Instead, my grandmother and my grandfather chose to raise me, and they are Ben and Brenda Rexroad. And about the time that I was in first grade, they decided to adopt me, and I became, because before this I was Benjamin James Morton, and in first grade I became Benjamin James Rexroad, which is why I don't like being called Ben, because that's my grandfather, my father, and I'm Benjamin. And actually back then I was BJ, but you know, about middle school that's not cool anymore. But that's a different story. And so while I was being raised by them, my mother, when she was 19, married my brother's dad. And he was not a very nice man. He was abusive, mother, as well as me. I remember a time that he threw me up against a wall. I remember a time that he burned me with a cigarette. And I was not allowed to call him his name. I had to call him Dad. And that made me very uncomfortable because he was not my father. At the time, I thought this guy named Brian was my dad. And when my grandparents when my grandparents chose to adopt me, there was a legal dispute. My mother and my stepfather tried to fight that. My stepdad wanted me as a manipulation tool. And so there was this huge legal battle. I remember it. And, throughout this process, the guy who was supposed to be my father was there. And then one day he just stopped showing up. And come to find out, his job from my stepdad was threatened, and he chose his job over me. He was about to have a child with his new wife, and that was more important than seeing me, So this huge legal battle happened, but my mother, knowing what type of guy this was, she fed my grandparents bits of information, pictures of bruises he gave her, diary entries of stories of her abuse, things that would make sure to keep me out of this guy's hands. Permanently, you know. But still, he was a part of my life. You know, my mother would make plans to come and see me, and because of the situation she found herself in, she would end up leaving me sitting on the porch. And I remember so many memories I have are sitting on that porch, waiting for my mother to come, until the sun went down, and she just wouldn't. She just was never there. But still, no matter what, she did her best to keep me away from that situation. At some point, when my brother was born, and he was old enough, there was, I believe the story goes that my stepfather had her pinned against a wall by her neck, holding her up, and my younger brother said something along the lines of, "Dad hurt Mom." And that is the impetus that caused my mother to leave. As a single mother at that point, she lived with her best friend. She started working at a gas station and worked her way up to become a manager at that gas station. Then, you know, at the time, she kept looking for jobs. She kept looking for jobs. She wanted to do better for herself. So finally, she got an interview for a position at the University of Akron. And she went there. It was for dining services, and she got hired because at the time, you know, still this was like 15, 20 years ago, they were still keeping their books by hand, and she had the best handwriting of all the interviews. And she got hired, and she kept working there, and she hello. Oh, all right. So she kept working there, and you know, she has gone through some very bad stuff at the university, as I'm sure you guys all know. And, you know, but she kept working there, and her big thing throughout my life is that she was putting up with all this stuff, all of this bureaucracy, all of the kind of nonsense, all of the terrible decisions by university leaders, and she did that so that she could put me and my brother and herself through college. She's the reason I have a college degree, because without her working there, without her story, I would have given up on college because I didn't care. She put me through college. She made sure I got my degree. She has put herself through college. She got her degree. She's working on her master's right now. She's about to finish. My brother is about to graduate with his degree. And so the greatest act of kindness that I can just imagine from my mother is that, yes, I did have a family. I had a mom and a dad. They were my grandparents. But my mother, she kept working. She kept working. She kept working. And she has helped all of us move up through this system, and has really been so kind that I have graduated without really any debt and am able just to do whatever I want because I had an awesome mom. So that's my act of kindness.